Go.
Hi, my name is Steve Gulam. I'm the voice and the face behind One Disabled Vet, the Facebook page that we are all following today. I thought I'd introduce myself to you all and let you know a little bit about myself, let you know a little bit about where I came from, and why I've undertaken this journey that we're about to take. The journey itself is to bear witness for our vets and to bring awareness to them, give them hope that there is help available to them. Also, to hear their story, maybe for the first time, maybe for the second time, maybe for the 10th time, that they have been hiding in them or been taking with them for so very long now. The story will include Vietnam vets, it'll include Iraqi Gulf War vets, Afghanistan vets, and World War II vets. But first, I think I'll let you know a little bit about myself before we go on to the journey. I was born 1949 in a small town in Ohio, well, relatively small, 30,000, called Massillon, Ohio. My upbringing was, after many years of looking back, I'm able to say my upbringing was impeccable. I had the best of parents, I had the best of sisters. I believe my parents taught me two lessons in life. One was never to touch a hot stove, and the other was to never to play in traffic. Those two valuable lessons kept me alive and kept me unhurt for 19 years of my life. Growing up, I grew up in a town that I believe was just perfect for growing up in. Every fall, leaves all fell in the same place. In the winter, the snowflakes, they all fell in the same place year after year after year. Although the climate was not ideal, but it was ideal for me as a young child. I see now, as I look back, that the town itself also was ball.
Football. Go.
The town itself is pretty well known for high school football. Matter of fact, still well known for high school football. When I was in school, the football games were the place to go. Every Friday night we'd walk to games. The game started at 8 o'clock at night, and all of us, my friends and I, would be walking up to the stadium and having a good old time, doing it. I can look back, think of those days, and those were the perfect days of my youth. I graduated in 1967 from high school. After that, I walked through life, not knowing what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. I ended up with one trimester at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. Found out that college wasn't for me and decided to come back to Massillon and get a job in a steel mill. After a year working in some steel mill with a bunch of older men and seeing all of my friends going off to war, I decided that I would volunteer for the draft, which I did. I did my basic training at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and did my advanced training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I got my orders to go to Vietnam in June. I left in July of 1969. When I got to Vietnam, I remember the very first day I was in Vietnam. I remember getting off the airplane, being slapped in the face by an oven, basically. Looking around, looking down the tarmac, and seeing metal boxes being loaded onto airplanes and not understanding what they were. I also remember walking off of the airplane as we were walking into the terminal. I remember seeing a pen for cattle full of GIs. They were the ones that were going to be going home. I looked around at all of them and couldn't find one of them that had a smile on their face. Half of them had a stare in this face that I really didn't quite understand. I just really had a hard time wondering why nobody was so happy that they were going home. Well, I got my orders. I was stationed in I Corps in Vietnam. I had many traumas occur up there. I saw an awful lot of action. I saw people die. I saw friends of mine die. Not only that, I also partook in actions that were really kind of foreign to me, coming from the perfect Midwestern town that I came from. I left Vietnam in July of 1970 and still had 6 months left to do in the service. I went to El Paso, Texas, did my 6 months, came back home, and found my friends basically all sitting around in bars doing our thing at the time, which was getting away from some horrors and some memories that we didn't know how to get away from. We didn't have a chance when we came home to be welcomed back by parades or anything else like that. We were told to man up and go home and everything will be fine. Well, I thought everything was being fine by going out drinking and having myself a time, and ended up finding out that alcohol overtook my life for many years. Also, I found out that I was hiding from things I never knew that I had. I had aches, I had pains, I had guilt, I had shame, I had fear. I had fear every night. Some nights I'd wake up with sweats, some nights I'd wake up in nightmares, but every day something was just a little bit off. And I come to find out that the same thing was happening to most of my friends, although I did not know this until some years later, actually over 30 years later. I moved to Florida in 1976, and in 1979 I actually went to the VA for the very first time. I went to it when it was in Riviera Beach, in West Palm Beach actually, it was Riviera Beach, but West Palm Beach. And when I got there, I knew right away that it wasn't for me. I didn't like it. There was a bunch of older men there, and I seemed to be one of the younger guys, although I was already 30 years old. Most of the guys there were World War II vets, and I really didn't feel welcome being there, and neither did 2 or 3 of my other friends that came along with me. I decided not to go back after signing up at the VA because I really didn't know what I was going there for in the first place. My life spiraled from there and went downhill, although most people would have thought I was the good time Charlie and the friendly person that I always was. But deep inside of me, I had these demons that were bothering me, and they continued to bother me. I'd still wake up with the nightmares and the sweats, but I had my friend Jack Daniels to be able to put me to sleep about every night. If it wasn't Jack Daniels, I found out that Budweiser did the same job. I believe it was in the year 2001 I figured out that I really needed some kind of help, for I was either going to live or die at that time, and I must have wanted to live because I did go back to the VA. At the VA I found that things really weren't much different. The building was new, they had a brand new hospital, the staff was newer, but I didn't seek much help. I just went for the medical review and got my medicines from the VA that were meant for me, for my stomach and my blood pressure and what have you. In the year 2003, my doctor recommended, my primary care doctor recommended that I go to mental health. Now, I really didn't care about going to mental health because I thought I was just like everybody else. But I thought I would go and give it a try anyways, what the heck. So, from the year 2003 to 2005, I was being treated in mental health both for what they called PTSD, which I had no idea was. They also said I was bipolar, which I knew nothing of. They also said I had anxiety disorder, and I also had an alcohol and drug problem. But if we could cure the alcohol or have it ceased with the alcohol and drugs, maybe then, we could work on the others too. Well, I didn't think I was going to do that. I knew that I knew better. I didn't need to quit drinking. I knew that I could do this all on my own. Well, after about 2 years of taking medications and being counseled by therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, I was asked a question one day by my psychologist if I was still drinking. I told him, yeah, I drink on weekends only, but I only drink like 3 or 4 beers. He wrote something on a piece of paper, and I looked at him, and I said, what did you write? And he turned it over, and it said 13 or 14. I looked at him, I said, how did you know that? And he says, because I know. He says, either you're going to live or you're going to die. The medication you're on by drinking is going to kill you eventually. But you do have a chance if you quit drinking. So I made a pact. I said that I would quit drinking. Of course, with Super Bowl weekend coming up, I said I'd quit drinking after the Super Bowl. He said, if you quit drinking after the Super Bowl, I will put you into a group that you will not believe what it's all about. It's not about quitting drinking. It's not about the war. It's not about anything but living life. So it worked for me. I got into the group and I quit drinking on February 5th or 6th. It'll be 8 years coming up this next year, so 7.5 years right now. When I quit drinking, something started happening to me a little bit different. I started feeling a little bit different, especially going to this meeting that I would go to on life. The life meeting got me into maybe there were some challenges that I had inside of my head and something that I had to take care of. Maybe, just maybe, I didn't have to live the rest of my life with these demons. Well, after 3 years of not drinking and continuing on the medication and continuing with the therapy, I started feeling a little bit better about myself, really much better about myself, although I still had certain times of the year that I had bad nightmares. I had remembrances. I remembered my friends from Vietnam. I remembered all of everything that that was bad that was happening to me. And here it is, the year 2013. I still have those memories. I still have the bad feelings. I still have some of the guilt, and some of the shame, and some of the fear. But it has lessened over the years, and I find myself being able to live my life under my terms for most part. Although I am 100% disabled, total and permanent, I feel today that will allow me and give me the opportunity to go out and to tell my story and to bear witness to other vets who have not had the chance to tell their story to anybody. Most of these vets that are coming back from the wars now, I take about 70% of them, have not sought any kind of help. That leaves 30% of them that have come, and out of the 30% of them that have come to the VA, most of them will make an appointment, or a lot of them will make appointments and not show up. There's very few places that these vets can go, and I feel for them because I know that my generation of young, the 2.7 million of us that served in country in Vietnam, and the many of us that were died, only 700,000 of us that are left now, were called the lost generation. And we were lost because we didn't know where to go. The vets today, they are told what to do. They are told to go when they are discharged, that they are to go sign up at the VA and they'll get the help that they need. But many of them distrust or have mistrust with the government, which there's a lot of reasons that comes about being. They have fear, they have the guilt, they have the shame, they have all of the things that I had. And they have all of the same reasons I had not to go to the VA or not to seek any kind of help. And they themselves are now turning to the same remedy that I turned. Well, our journey is going to take us to VABs, American Legions, and VFWs, any place that these vets, be they Vietnam, World War II, or Afghan, Iraqi vets, congregate. We will be trying to get as many as we can to interview and maybe be able to get their story out for the first time. And that's what I found. I get the story out the first time. My story that came out was easier coming out the second time, the third time, and the 100th time. It came just a little bit easier and easier each time. It made it more feasible for me to understand that it was now a story. It was no longer me. So I hope that someday, that just out of me going around talking to these vets, that they too, even if I hit one of them, they too will understand eventually that it is a story that they lived, and that they had no choice to do what they did, and that the horrors that they saw, and the horrors that they partook in, and the agony and the pain and the guilt and the shame do not have to be a major part of their life anymore. They can go on, they can find joy, they can find happiness, they can find a will to live, and they can be productive citizens of our country. This is what we really want, isn't it? I think I do. I don't want another generation to be lost. Eventually what I would like to do is be able to video many of these vets along with their interview. Their interview, I will paraphrase a lot if they decide they don't want to be videoed or recorded in any way. But I hope that many of them will allow me to video them, even if it's from the waist down and they give me an alias. That would be just fine and dandy with me, just so they can tell their story. This way I can get these stories. I feel like I need to build these stories into a DVD, into whatever I have to get their story out to every congressman, every senator, the president, vice president, any lawmakers, anybody that has anything to do with decision making as far as our military is concerned. So they too not only hear the story from the Inspector General's office or somebody from the military or somebody from the VA, but will hear the stories directly from the vet himself. Those vets who really have not sought any help, who have not decided which direction their life is to take at this time. They, being the lawmakers, need to hear, feel the pain, the agony, and to see the looks on these people's faces. By that, I hope that you and me and everybody else that follows this page will get the gratification that they deserve. We need people to follow us. We need people to understand that there are good organizations out there that are helping vets today. That we have many out there today that will give them hope, but most of them the vets have to go to them. It isn't a one-on-one type of a thing. That is what we are going to do, although it'll be me as the one and you as the 300, 500,000 likes, people that will follow this story, that will be our witness. I thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope that it gives you some thought and understanding of why I am about to enter into this journey of mine. I am doing this only on my own. I am not part of an organization. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I am just a Vietnam vet who lived the exact same horror that many of these vets have. And I believe by having a non-judgmental and a loving and a caring ear and knowing that I went through the same situation, many of these vets will open up to me, and hopefully they'll open up and maybe get their story out. You, my audience, people that I depend on every single day, will get the message also. And you, my audience, will be able to get a hold of your congressman and say, this is BS. These guys need help. Get them the help. That the VA does not need their funding cut. These people need help. I thank you very much for listening to me, and I look forward for you following me on my journey. And I look forward to hearing all of your comments. And I look forward especially for you to tell your friends about this page and to get them involved in this issue, this mission, this journey that we are about to do. I thank you, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon, and look forward to posting interviews real soon of many of my fellow vets. Thank you.